Hey guys, it's Seamoose here, and today I have an Overwatch discussion video for you guys. So, for those of you who don't know, the rule set for the Atlantic Showdown, the ESL $100,000 Overwatch tournament, was recently announced, and it's pretty interesting. There is a... I'm saying interestingly, trying to be interesting in a non-defensive way, because there's some worry in the competitive community, I think. And they certainly want to make sure that their game that they love to play is competitive. And Blizzard certainly has some ideas about the things that they want, the way they want their game to be shown. And as a result, there is currently it seems that there's a big discrepancy between what the devs want and what the players want. For those of you familiar with the eggplant format, it's something I've discussed before. It is no assault maps, so that's a certain type of map restricted just because it's not competitive. One hero limit rule set, and then also you have stopwatch, which is basically the time it takes to complete is counted, and then if you complete a map faster than your opponents, you win. That's the TLDR version of stopwatch. The tournament for Gamescom, run by ESL and in part supported by Blizzard, has a tournament format entirely different. So what instead of stopwatch rules, they're gonna go by the new competitive play mode rules, which are good and bad. I think there's some good parts and some bad parts. Instead of banning a certain type of map, there's gonna be a map pool. Instead of drafting maps, you're gonna have the map pool. You're gonna be rotating week in, week out what maps you play on, and that frustrates a lot of people. And then the most important thing, in my opinion, that's the thing I care the most about, is that there is no restriction or limits to the heroes you can play in this tournament. For those of you who are interested in playing in it, I certainly recommend anyone can qualify, anyone can attempt to try and play. There are 4 qualifiers for NA and EU, and I'm going to link the link both in the description and annotation so you guys can check that out and learn for yourselves about the format and just what exactly is at stake. Let's go over the format a little bit though, because I think for both sides there are strong and good reasons why they're arguing for what they believe is the right way to go. So, for Blizzard's thoughts on the competitive format and stopwatch in particular, it is very, very unviewer friendly. I think even the competitive players would agree. I certainly know a lot of players I know think that the only reason why they want the format is because it actually shows you who completed the map faster, and I think that's one of those things that Blizzard will likely never allow in competitive play, at least in the Blizzard run tournaments or leagues, since it's very unspectator friendly. It doesn't have much tension or drama as the match completes. It's also logistically not incredibly easy to use right now, since there's no easy way to just exit the lobby without forcibly having everyone exit, or just complete the payload anyway, so that's very confusing to viewers and stuff. But I think the most important thing about the stopwatch rule set is the fact that it's not very viewer friendly, since it basically dictates the way a match will go based off of how the first half of the match completed, and that's really lame, honestly. I know that the competitive players like it because it gives an accurate representation of who won faster, but I think Blizzard is working on some really neat alternatives. For those of you who don't know, on the PTR, the Blizzard Public Test Realm, they're trying some things where they have different rule sets and stuff that they might implement to ranked play. And one thing that Jeff Kaplan has spoken about before, which is currently implemented on assault maps and might also be the case on payload maps, is a time bank. And that is the amount of time it takes you to complete. The rest of the time that you would have is stored. And if both you and your enemy team, if both of you end the map, if you go to sudden death, instead of replaying and flipping a coin on which side, or going to a capture point sudden death, instead you're given that time that you did not use in your first match, in your first round, and then you can use that to complete the map. I think that's an excellent solution. I don't know if there should be a 1-to-1 ratio or if somehow the time should be changed, but I think that's a really, really great way to not go into sudden death and just use the time intelligently. There's still a few issues with that, but I think it's certainly better than what is currently on the PTR servers, which is flip a coin. So if both teams complete the map, then you flip a coin who's defense, and who's offense, and then the game just ends by who wins that, which is not a great solution, especially since certain maps are going to favor defense or offense more than the others. Even if that weren't the case, though, even if every map was balanced 50-50, it still wouldn't be a matter of choice. It would be a matter of RNG, and certain teams might be more skilled and more successful running as attackers instead of defenders, and it just feels really, really lame if you lose a map as a result of that. So I think that's something that Blizzard are going in the right direction with, though, as far as the competitive play, the PTR format, and if that's what they actually implement for the Gamescom tournament, it's not incredibly clear, then I think I'd be okay with that. The next thing is that the map pool will consist of a weekly 6-map rotation. So 6 maps, there's 12 maps total, and we're going to see 6 of them every week. So it's probably going to be like 2 of each, 2 assault maps, 2 payload maps, 2 capture point maps. That would be my guess, at least. And I think that makes sense from a developer standpoint, because you're not going to want to create a game and then not show some of it off, right? You wouldn't want to show some of the maps off when you worked so hard to create them. That being said, though, I don't think there's a single competitive game where there aren't certain maps that are simply restricted or banned because they're so, like, non-competitive, if that makes sense. I think Blizzard, for Overwatch compared to Super Smash Bros. Melee, for example, like, there's no stage hazards or whatever. Actually, there aren't stage hazards in Melee. Okay, whatever. Smash 4, for example, there's stage hazards, and there's things that disrupt the play and that make it less competitive. Technically, Overwatch doesn't specifically have that, but some of the maps are considered more snowbally than others. For example, assault maps are basically 2 team fights away from the offense winning every single time. And even though it might seem odd because the defensive spawn is so close on the second point of assault maps, I know a lot of players hate playing on assault maps because they're just so snowbally. So for now, I don't really, I don't even think there's not much of a choice for the competitive community. I think Blizzard is going to want to implement their maps in the future. I hope that eventually they're at least worked on some more, or just that a map pool is selected and certain maps are relegated to not being used very commonly, at least. Maybe if they show up once in 100 maps, but I think teams might be more frustrated if they lose as a result of being cheesed. I don't know. That's still something that needs to be looked at, but I understand why Blizzard is going to imply that all the teams, or excuse me, that all the maps are played. And the fact that it's on a rotation basis isn't actually that big of a deal. And to be completely honest, they're trying to remove the draft phase completely, which is great for competitors, not so great for spectators. I've spoken with some of the esports team at Blizzard, and they were like, we're not really big fans of draft phase or whatever. We just want the game time to be as swift as possible. We don't want to be waiting for anything. So that makes sense as far as that is concerned. Whether or not the players agree with that, though, that's something else. I think that, to be completely honest, the draft phase is kind of cool. There's a little bit of chess match going on, and I think it rewards teams that do a lot of thinking ahead and planning ahead. But, you know, that if they want the broadcaster to run one direction, then there's not really anything we can do to change that. Of course, we can complain, and there are certainly complaints being made and held, but still. The thing I'm most passionate about, and I think that the thing that's most important in this situation, is the no hero restriction or limit rule. The reason why they said that was they wanted, and I'll quote this, "It's important to note that teams will have the freedom to craft team compositions as they like with no hero restrictions or limits. Blizzard and ESL see the option to stack heroes as a core game concept and central to the strategy of Overwatch, as it gives teams the most room to be flexible and adaptable. While that is true, and while that is a absolutely noble pursuit, in practice, especially on certain maps, for example Nepal, no hero restrictions creates a very stale, stale metagame where you'll see stacking of certain heroes and you're unlikely to see anything else. I think Double Winston is the best example of that, and at least from my experience as a competitor, as a analyst, as a spectator, as a caster, I think it's important that one hero limit is used because it's easier to follow for the spectators, especially new ones. It's also easier to balance the game around, and it's also simply adds more diversity. As of right now, though, the cast is pretty small. There's not that many heroes in the game just yet, and perhaps as the cast expands, it's easier to balance the experience of no hero restrictions, but I think not many competitors like to play in it. Certainly, I think specifically Double Winston is a great example of when a hero becomes much, much stronger when he's unrestricted as opposed to limited to one hero. And I do think that becomes kind of a logistical balance nightmare for Blizzard to work on. That being said, though, I mean, those are the rules. New competitive play mode, the map pool with a 6-map rotation, all maps are on, and no hero restrictions or limits. It's the largest tournament we have had to date, and I know some teams are complaining and some people are saying this is nuts, you know, like, what the heck, Blizzard? What are you doing to our game? Please stop trying to ruin the competitive scene. But I think to a certain extent, Blizzard is also testing things out. And I don't think these players aren't going to play because they don't like the format. This is the largest Overwatch tournament to date, and there are likely to be many, many eyes on it, so I hope it succeeds. Honestly, I think I would have liked to, I think, personally, like, the number one thing, guys, I care about the most here, honestly, is the one hero limit rule. Like, I really would have liked to see that implemented, but, you know, you deal with the cards you're dealt. And if the feedback is overwhelmingly negative and people don't enjoy the tournament, then I'm sure the next time Blizzard supports a major tournament like this, we'll see some changes. Yeah, so that's it for this video. I mean, it's a doozy. It's something that is really, really important, and the repercussions of this tournament, guys, could be really, really big. So leave your thoughts if you have any. I'd love to talk to you guys about it, because I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on it, and I think that Blizzard deserves quality feedback, not just blah, 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 Blizzard, please don't ruin our game. More of a, you know, Blizzard, I think this is a smart idea, but I don't think this is a smart idea, and this is why my fleshed out idea could be better or supplement an opinion, whatever. You guys know what I mean. So yeah, that is going to wrap it up for this video, though. Tomorrow I'm going to come at you with my Genji guides, I think. It's Sunday, right? Yeah, tomorrow's Genji. And yeah, I'm also going to do a quick reintroduction / thank you for 100 subscribers video, because I passed the number a day or two ago, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys watching. That's going to be it for now, though. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you all next time.